square in the corner here. And the main thing is the agenda. How do I switch that?
I don't know that you can. Because
Can you-
right now Nick's sharing the screen for you to see it. So
Okay. Yeah, I've read it already.
Well, while it's being shared, you can't change that, but
Okay.
as soon as we're done with that,
In a while, you'll drop it. Okay.
it'll
Thank
go
you.
back.
all right, ready to go.
Ta-da.
Okay, so everyone's here. There's no public for public comment. And do we have the 10:22 minutes back in their form?
Oh,
It's fine.
no, it was the November, it was
Okay.
today's, yeah.
Should I put
Any,
that on? Or was
well,
there any
is there,
discussion on the minutes? Sorry,
no, co-chair.
I'm a co-chair, I get to talk. I don't know. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
No, they seem good to me.
Yeah,
Is that a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Say aye.
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 Okay.
All right, I'm going back to the agenda.
Any staff updates? You're up.
Other than the select board, I think is expecting Nick to come on the December 5th.
Yeah.
And so you'll give your update on what's been going on.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that they've been doing with each ad hoc committee is they want to establish a term. So I think, sounds like from my discussions with Sky, you guys were thinking that since you're expecting the climate action plan to go to town meeting in May, that probably would put the charge or the term to end in May and the charge to be to finish the climate action plan. Doesn't mean the committee necessarily ends in May. It just means you'd need to come to the select board with, say, a new mission to get that approved in a new term. It could well be the new mission is maybe there's things in the climate action plan that you guys would undertake, say, public education on or something.
Right.
But so if that sounds fair, then that's what I'd propose in the select board's agenda, is that be the charge would be to, and the mission would end in May when the climate action plan is complete.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
Question, so
But then,
what happens when we want to meet? We don't meet here to discuss what we come up with for dealing with the select board?
What do you mean?
I'm not sure.
Like, we don't come to this building and start working on.
Well, you'd continue to May as you do now, but just once May comes and the climate action plan's done, then the work of the ad hoc committee is complete unless there's a new mission. So if you guys come up with a new mission before May or in May or whatever, you can go back to the select board and say, we want to do public education to help implement parts of the climate action, whatever it might be, or might be something else.
Our meeting would be after the town meeting in May.
Yeah,
So,
Which is fine,
well, does that mean we get to meet at CDOG or we're not meeting here?
I guess under the town ordinances, there's certain committees that have state law charter, say like the Conservation Commission goes on all the time, Planning Board, Select Board. Ad hoc committees are established for a particular time for a particular purpose. So what the Select Board's been trying to do is get all the committees in so everyone's clear on what their purpose and what their time is. If you don't like, May, you think there's more of a purpose than just do the climate action plan, then you could present that on the 5th and say, we want to go to November because we also want to accomplish X, whatever that might be. But if you don't have that X yet, then what you could do is say we want to go till May to finish the climate action plan. And then at that point, you can come up with or propose a new mission to the select board and ask to continue past that.
is another option if we don't have a new plan in place by December 5th to get on the meeting in March or April.
Absolutely.
And just say, okay,
Yep.
here's the new.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
the selectmen update happens which month? I'm sorry, I missed that.
December 5th.
December 5th.
December 5th, okay.
So I think you've already have a report that Sky submitted and then Nick's going to do it orally and stuff.
okay, right. Okay.
I have a question. Nowhere in any of the information that I've read about the Energy Committee did it say that its mission was to complete the climate action plan.
Right.
Which is why you're coming to the select board on December 5th. so that you have a mission.
Well, yeah, the mission was.
We did have a mission.
We did have a mission, and it was vaguer. It wasn't, there weren't specific tasks. There were,
Research and recommend strategies, et cetera. I mean, it's
yeah,
pretty clear.
it was sort of, there were none of those were kind of discrete items. They were continuing items, but we can bring that up at the select board meeting. I mean, just say, hey, look, there are more things here that we could do. But anyway, yeah, we should talk, we could talk about that. I
We
don't
can
know.
talk about it a little bit and just decide whether that'll be December 5th or whether it'll be, on another meeting after that or whatever.
Could someone please enlarge the screen that I'm seeing you guys on? Because I don't need to look at the agenda constantly. I'd rather look at you guys. We're gonna have to see.
Everybody fine with not looking at the agenda right now?
No, fine.
Okay,
Yep.
boom. How you like
Hey,
that?
hey, good, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we'll do.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I guess actually sorry.
Was that Victor?
I'm looking at the wrong thing. Never mind.
So that's what you have, Mark, right?
Yes, so you were on the schedule for the 5th to do your report and then get a charge and a term.
Okay. Great. So, an old business. The workshop. We should talk about it.
Is
Yeah, I
Julie?
think Julia's not coming to this meeting, but any feedback or whatever I can coordinate with her. But I think the idea was to get feedback from you all, kind of debrief the meeting and talk about the next one.
Thought it was good. I think it was as many folks as the last time, some repeat, some new.
Yeah, I thought everybody was really enthusiastic and all in, like they weren't just kind of sitting back. But they were, talking about actions that they thought were priorities and I thought it was great. I didn't expect that many people.
Yeah, I thought the format was good. Just in going around, from place to place, where we're putting the stickers on and everything. You could tell that people are their minds were ticking. They were really, giving good consideration to things, and it was really interesting to see where things piled up and where they didn't. People were talking a lot with each other, so I just thought that was effective. Jackie's trying to speak, right? Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. One of them is directly from my husband. You really need to use microphones. I was in the back and I could just hear. So my appearance of being right into it was because I was straining to hear. He missed a lot of it. The second thing that I would ask is that if you take questions from the audience, please repeat the question, because the person's looking forward and talking to the person in front of him, not letting their voice carry. And the third thing would be that if one of the presenters is answering a question, to please stand up and face the audience. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
The only other comment I had was there were a lot of actions, and when I walked around, and it would be interesting to see what the priorities ended up being, but there were so many stickies on each action.
Yes.
That was one comment. I don't know, how that could have been done differently. And the second was some things that are already in place or in progress were listed as an action for people to vote on. So my feeling was if it's already in progress, it should have been eliminated from the list that people voted on.
One way to avoid having everything get its stickers is if you want to set priorities, you give everybody 4 stickers.
Yeah.
And then they have to choose.
Yeah, right.
I was encouraged by how many people came. I was really glad that we had the paper sheet of action so people could take it home and keep thinking about it, because this is the first time that most of them have seen that. I agree with Jackie that 35 stickers was too many for, I don't know, there were maybe, I don't know how many items there were, if anybody even added them up, but it would have been helpful to have less total stickers.
Yeah.
What else? I'm glad that the food came in time. That was kind of helpful and important in the drink. And I thought that I really appreciated very much how clear your presentation was on the summary of what was going on, because I think Meg, you did it very simply and without confusion, which was, for people who haven't been thinking about this every day, it's really helpful. Yeah. Yeah, I think Julia did a good, awesome job too. So we're grateful to the good work that's gone into this project so far.
What else?
There was one question from somebody in the audience who was questioning that if we stopped burning fossil fuels, that we would run out of greenhouse gases.
Oh, gee.
No, that's not going to happen.
So
We'd all have to stop breathing just for
what
starting.
do you do about, Meg, I think that was a difficult position to put you in, because that could have been, that could have gone down, quite a rabbit hole, but and I'm not sure if I'm looking for an answer or something, but it made me really aware of the fact that there's a lot of this stuff that people just don't really understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a simple answer to that, which is the Earth was in balance just fine before we started burning fossil fuels.
Right.
And there's no reason that it would change. I mean, it's going to work just fine after we stop burning fossil fuels. So it's not like we need to burn fossil fuels for the Earth to work. So, the ecosystem to work. The ecosystem works just fine.
yeah, my approach on that was, kind of not to engage it head on, because I don't think there's any answer that could have been given in that situation, really. And so, I don't go there. And I think, although I was thinking about it afterwards, that I hope that I wasn't just too dismissive, because it is a thing. And, I've been asked, and there's climate skeptics and stuff like that. And like, it's fine. Like, there's no way that facts or figures or any kind of answers, in my experience, are going to change anybody's mind. So it's kind of better to just like kind of move on to something we can more all agree on, like kind of finding more common ground, or keeping it more in an experiential place. But I think it's a very good comment that when there's, public comments or anything like that, like that we should expect those kind of things, and maybe strategize a little bit more about, how to engage so that the person doesn't feel like shut down or disregarded, but we're also not just, not getting into it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way you handled it was fine and good. It just made me think, wow, we need a lot more education. We just need, I don't know. I think there's a need for more education around this stuff. If we, go into another charter or whatever, that might. We kind of started that way, and then we, wandered off, away from that. We might get back into that a bit more. Just give people a chance to talk about it, think about it, think out loud.
Life science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Earth Science 101.
Yeah, and in some cases, like, just the words climate change can turn anybody off. So if you're trying to engage people who maybe have a different perspective, things like extreme weather and more intense storms, like there's kind of other there's other words that other language you can use to keep people involved without, saying the things that they're going to make a bunch of assumptions about and then disengage.
Yep. Describe the actual things that are happening. Higher rainfall, higher winds level, more road flooding, culverts needing to be bigger.
And I would say too, like the kind of the benefits of planning, like their FEMA has the great example where every dollar put into mitigating and adapting saves $6 in disaster funds. So
Yeah.
you can argue about why it's happening till the cows come home, but we might say that we've all experienced that, and it's probably better to plan.
Meg,
Yeah,
is
that
that
would be
figure
great to
from
have a
the
poster that day.
nationwide, or is it Maine figure, $1 saves $6? Is that a national?
FEMA, it's FEMA, yeah, federal, yeah.
Figure.
Fine. Yeah, a big poster with that should be present in any meeting. Just hit them with the economics of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Victoria, when you're out there talking about it and coming up against different people, what's your experience?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're forced sometimes to just talk about the impacts, and everybody can, like you said, everybody can agree on that. And I also agree that you can't get into it. I mean, one, there's no time in a workshop and you're wasting other people's time. And, I mean, the only other thing you can do with someone like that is to say, here, I'll talk to you during the break, or I could, I'm happy to share resources with you after the workshop or something like that.
Mm.
All right, well, anything else? Any other feedback? Any other thoughts to debrief about the workshop? It's all really good.
Yeah.
Our next workshop is going to be just a presentation of the final plan. Is that the idea, or?
Yeah, this
I'm sorry.
No, good segue
I'm
into
just
the
curious. I'm
timeline.
just curious because I don't know what feedback is right now is important for the next one.
The timing, we need to come up with a time, a date.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
true.
So a couple of things. The next one, the focus is going to be on, all right, pulling all this information together. We've had this public engagement process. We've gotten feedback, and so here are the things that the community thinks are priority climate action actions. And it's a pretty much like, here's what we've heard from you. We're kind of reflecting it back. Like, does that sound about right? It's not written in stone at that point. So if there's anything to discuss more, we can do that. But it is pretty much like this is the end of the process, and here is what you said.
So it's going to be more like sort of personal feedback that people would be giving rather than an exercise of some kind that they have to do. It's going to be mostly them sort of asking questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that case, Jackie's comments about we might have a microphone to share so that everybody, as they're asking their question, they can talk into a microphone.
Yeah,
One that's
idea.
totally podium is portable, so that's easy.
Set it up like a select board meeting or something.
Yeah, because that way, maybe having a podium where they come to too, and they can talk. Yeah, because that way it'll be, I don't know, it'll everyone will be included. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll do, I would do a PowerPoint to hit the highlights.
Yeah.
And then there would be, we haven't really talked yet about how we would have, hard copies or drafts distributed, but we can think about that.
Maybe one of those poster boards where we could just scratch down the highlights of what people are saying too, just to capture it.
That's a good idea, like.
Oh, that's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah,
a really good idea.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that way, everyone can see what, has been said.
That's a great idea.
I know somebody's taking notes, but it's just, you don't see that,
Yeah.
Meg, how much in advance of the meeting do you expect, that we'll have a draft?
Well, let's talk about that. So we really, working back from May, the town meeting in May, and I'm glad Mark is here just to confirm this. So it would need to go to select the select board in April, correct? 30 days?
Usually what they do is the first meeting in April, they'll have the warrant ready, and then they'll have a public hearing on it at the second meeting in April.
Okay.
And certainly that's for the budget stuff and maybe things that are relatively small.
Yeah.
But they might decide they want, because this is a larger item, they might decide they want to have their own public hearing on this. Because some
Okay.
warrant items, they give a separate public hearing than the general one for the whole warrant.
Mhm.
So ideally, I think you might have it ready to go to the select board by, say, early March, or either the first meeting or the second meeting in March. That way there's time if they wanted to do an extra public hearing, or they've got it, so. They may not, they may say that this has already been in front of the public 3 times and they'll just put it on the warrant as is. But this way they've got time to make a choice if you give it to them, either the first meeting in March or the second meeting in March.
There's
Okay.
also code that's gonna have to fit in there somewhere.
Yeah, the recode's not gonna be ready for this town meeting.
Oh, okay.
So we need to have then the winter meeting, the winter workshop, third workshop, mid to late February. And the schedule is that the climate action memo from FB is scheduled to me in February, so I need to see if we can get it sooner from them, because I need some time to pull it together. So I'll talk to them about getting it in end of December or January. So I think for you guys, is a couple of weeks enough time for you?
Well, what I was thinking is that, like, we might put a poster downstairs, on an easel or something like that with a QR code, which would access the draft so that people would actually go in and read stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
We have any drafts ready?
Well,
Yeah, that's what-
whenever we had it ready, if it was ready enough in advance, of the meeting.
So we have,
Because it's
Maybe
awful
s-
hard to take this big fat thing and then walk into a meeting and see some bullet points and go, oh, okay, everything's great,
so like, can we have certain parts of this like ready throughout the duration? It seems like the social vulnerability assessment that Julia just threw back out at us before this meeting, is that sort of a final draft on that section of the plan, or are we? Because I know Jackie has some questions about that too, the draft. How final?
The social vulnerability one?
Now, the infrastructure.
Yeah, the infrastructure one.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the infrastructure.
Yeah, I think she had really asked for comments earlier on that, so, but, I'm sure she'll be able to, work them. They're relatively, they're good. They won't take a lot of time to do. So I'll check with her on that.
But it seems like we've all looked at that at least once, and then
Yeah.
we've looked at the social vulnerability part at least once.
And you've looked at
Here's
the,
some drafting of that, though, I remember.
yeah, that was pretty thin. So, but there's not that much. There's more text that goes around that rather than more research that's going to go into that.
Hmm.
And I can just wrap that up. And the greenhouse gas emissions one, everybody's had a chance to look at. Thank you for your good comments on that. So really, it's like, it is the climate action plan, kind of report. And it would be good to talk about, like, I've seen some beautiful ones. We don't have a graphics person on this. So what I'm trying to think of is like, ways to get the information across that's not just really text heavy and really boring and stuff.
Yeah.
So I know Bath had a terrific one, but they had
A bunch of staff.
people, yeah, communication staff that we don't really have. So, one thing that would be very helpful is if I could get some, day in the life photos from you guys, Topsham beauty shots, Topsham around town, in different seasons, just, if you could like go back into your stash of photos and see if you have any that you could send me that I could put in, because I could put a lot more photographs in, which I think is a nice way to split up text.
Do you know what Josh's undergrad degree was in, Meg?
What?
Josh Franklin, our planner.
What is it?
He's a graphic artist.
So you're queuing him up for this?
Yeah. So Josh actually, he's put some other things together for us that look pretty sharp. So if you had like obviously he's got to do planning board too and things.
Yeah.
But if you had a particular one or two ideas that really would benefit from a graphic and you've got some things that you might want, Josh could probably put it together.
All right.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. It needs a great cover. It needs.
I bet if we gave him that task, he'd be happy to work on that. So.
Okay, that's great. And maybe chapter headings or some things like that to make it kind of punchy.
Meg, I'm trying to look at like the upcoming meetings and what we'll do at each of these meetings. So my thoughts are that we probably still want a second look at the greenhouse gas emission draft and the social vulnerability draft. Are those two items maybe something we could review in December?
Yeah, probably.
And then it seems like I'm not sure how far along with the climate action plan report part, but at least get through some of it in the January meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm not sure if we could move our February meeting up. Well, actually, so the select board. Yeah. Or we could move our own meeting up in March if we need to have another review.
Seems like we also want a meeting to talk about ways to get input on the plan in advance of the workshop. Like I was driving in Cook's Corner and I noticed Brunswick had a, what's it called? The signage there.
Portable sign.
Yeah, they had a portable sign saying, comment,
Yeah,
give your input on the
yeah,
action
really
plan. I don't know if we want to do that, but there might be other things that we can brainstorm.
We actually had this one up for like 3 weeks before the meeting out front.
Oh, really?
For the meeting.
Oh, I didn't even
and
notice.
I think maybe helped with the attendance.
I think
Yeah, it might
Ah,
have, yeah.
good. We need to change our December meeting time because it's on Christmas. Let's do that before we forget, guys.
It's on the agenda, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yep, it's on the agenda. I'm looking right at it.
Week before Christmas, maybe?
It's Christmas Eve.
When we meet on the.
Is this room available the third Tuesday of
December.
December?
Let's see what we have that night.
Someone tell me what day that is.
Looks like it's the 17th.
The 17th.
CPIC is meeting. No, sorry. Topsham Housing Authorities at 4. And that's.
I can't do that day. It's my daughter's winter concert.
That 17th?
What
Could
about,
it be another day besides
yeah,
Tuesday?
you want Thursday?
Thursday would be fine with me.
There's a select board meeting that Thursday, right?
Although that would be downstairs.
Oh, that's true. It's not Thursday.
So
Thursday the 19th.
so this room is available Thursday the 19th.
That Thursday works for me.
Thursday the 19th. Jackie, Nancy?
Yeah, that's fine. Thursday the 19th, I guess.
Yeah, 4:30.
Meg?
Hopefully so, yes. I have to pick up my husband from the hospital at 3:30, but I think that'll work. Yeah.
Meg, did you say
Yep.
you are?
That works for me, yes.
Okay.
So Thursday the 19th here at 4:30. I will put it in the calendar.
So it sounds like January and February we'll start reviewing the meat of the plan, Meg, that's okay?
Yeah,
Um, Oh, wait, but so when are we having our next public meeting? Because we want to have public input before we have a draft ready for the select board.
Yeah,
Well,
it's,
the select board needs to be in early March. That's
I mean,
right, Mark.
you could do it on the 20th. That's the second meeting in March. Because if they decided they wanted to have an extra public hearing, there's still time for them to set that up, during the month of April. So if you wanted to use that as your target date to bring it to the select board, you could do that. So,
Sorry, can you give me that date again?
March 20th is the
Okay.
second select board meeting in March.
Well, isn't there a public comment period that we had on our public comments before select board? Yeah, yep. We had public comments after the winter meeting, before the select board meeting.
Is that like, how long is that? Well, we don't know how long it's gonna be yet. I suppose that's fine. Is it?
Well, just that it's open for more
Open for
comments
comment,
until,
yeah,
So once it goes to the select board, that's it. If they approve it.
well, actually, is it before it goes to, I guess they have to advertise it, right? And then, so,
The select board at a minimum, they have to set the warrant in early April and then have a hearing on the entire warrant. They usually do their second April meeting. They sometimes have extra hearings on particular agenda items. So sometimes maybe it's a zoning change that thinks maybe people want to argue shouldn't be on the warrant. So they have a hearing to help them decide if it should go on the warrant. So they could decide they want to do that with this, which is why I say it's probably good to use March 20th. So there's time for them to have that public hearing in advance of setting the final warrant.
so the plan has to be final and not changeable at that point, or?
Yeah, probably, if you want to make this town meeting, because it wouldn't be time to go back and forth, most likely, if you, by after March 20th, so.
it feels like we should have our public meeting on the final draft in beginning of February and then be able to talk through the comments that are received by our February meeting at the end of the month. So we can agree to final changes. And also have, if you have the public meeting at the beginning of February and you continue to leave it open for public comment, by the time we meet as a regular committee at the end of February, we can review those comments and have the feedback from the meeting earlier in February, have it like 2 weeks for public comment after the meeting.
Yeah,
Two
yeah.
to 3 weeks, I mean, because we meet the 3rd, so depending on when we can schedule the February meeting, like early on.
So the only issue with that is FB has in their schedule that they're not getting their work done that I need until they have February. But I will talk to them and, see about doing it earlier. And I, just need time to do it.
Yeah, right.
But I'll get back to you on that. It should be okay. I'm just putting caveats up.
So how are the public going to make comments to us? I don't understand how this process is happening.
Just like Rico, they can just submit comments to Sky in an email,
To Sky,
Zoom.
by email? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right.
Didn't Nick suggest having like a poster down in the lobby, the QR code?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they could access the plan, and I don't know how that all gets
We could put it on the
organized,
website.
but it goes on the website, you
Exactly.
access the plan, and it said to comment, there's a button, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can be built. Yeah. So I would think it'd be right in there, so, maybe it would be, the button would be an email to Sky, but there would be a direct button that they could, make comments on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, I think to have things go smoothly with the select board, I think it's important that the final plan be careful of shalls. And the example I'll use is, there was one of the things that was in the draft plan was that the town shall basically change all our buildings to heat pumps. I think something that would go better and smoother and would be the town shall evaluate being more energy efficient and consider. The reason why I say I'm afraid of the shall is right now, if we were to switch all our buildings, like say this building and the one next door, our electrical system is developed based on having the type of systems we have. Our emergency generators, which we just had $100,000 grant to pay for the one for this building, it's based on the system we have, and it's not to go in the wrong direction too much, but it just barely runs the building right now. So if we were to switch to something that's much more electric intensive, we'd have to upgrade the electrical system and the generator too, not just our heating system. So doesn't mean it wouldn't make sense, or doesn't mean maybe there's grants available at some point, but I think the select board's gonna be nervous, or certainly the people at town meeting are likely to be nervous about voting for something that says we have to, within the next whatever years, switch everything to heat pumps. But I think they would be happy to vote for and support putting on the warrant something that said, we shall consider the most energy efficient things available as we replace systems. That's my advice is, I think it makes less likely you're gonna need an extra hearing and more likely to get on the warrant and more likely to get passed if we make sure to keep maybe some of the shalls at a minimum and maybe have more option type stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good. Can definitely do that. The actions, the actions are, there's sort of strategies, goal strategies and actions. So like, say a strategy is electrify and retrofit existing residential and commercial buildings. That's, a strategy. And then there are like actions, like for example, I'm looking at Bath because I don't have our how they came out right in front of me, but establish a dedicated resource for low-cost barrier programs like window inserts for to electrify. That's not English. Update permitting process to record comprehensive energy system information with property records. So the actions are like real things that I think the ideas that the town is committing to.
Yeah, I mean, I see what Mark's saying, and I think if we do it right, we say as he said, the town shall evaluate, energy efficient upgrades. And if they don't make sense, then, it depends. I think we shall do this, we shall evaluate, but it's not necessarily true that we shall replace every single system immediately, kind of thing. So I think if we phrase it right, I think we'll be okay.
I thought the way that we phrased all the things that we had stickers on was
We're pretty good.
copacetic for
Okay,
everybody.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean,
You
it
guys
was,
reviewed them, you reviewed them.
That was actually one I commented on, and that was some of the discussion we had back with FB was that we're gonna have a chance to massage the exact language a little. So, because the way that one was written was it did say we would switch all our buildings to heat pumps. And I pointed out the potential economic costs, and it almost conflicts with other points in the plan in some ways, because if we're trying to have more of a, like when we had the issues in March, Topsham really hadn't been doing much with warming shelters. So we said we wanted to do something. So we used the downstairs and we had our emergency generator going and we had people come in. But if we want to help the people that are disadvantaged and maybe only have heat pumps and they can't stay warm because they end up with a way, if all of a sudden this building's now down too, because our generator's not big enough to run the heating systems, which if we do a comprehensive upgrade and you do heat pumps and you do all the wiring and you do a new generator, then we're good to go. But that also probably millions of dollars, if we did both these buildings and stuff. So I think we want to keep the options to figure out what's fiscally responsible and what serves the, greater goal of helping everyone, as well as, as opposed to just a shall, you absolutely have to do this in 5 years.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. So as long as, if you've looked at them and had that conversation with FB, and we'll make sure that the language that they give to me is, you're good with that language, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, there's, I think if we dictate exactly what should happen a little too tightly, it's like, maybe we don't replace the entire heating system in a building with a heat pump. Maybe we supplement what's there. That'll reduce, if it gets 80% of the load, that's going to make a huge difference in greenhouse gas emissions. But yet they still have a backup, boiler for which it was probably there before and worked just fine to heat the whole building. So if they don't have, enough power to do that, they can switch to the backup system and use that. So, and those kind of things, so it's not like we shall replace, it's like we shall evaluate the best way to reduce, I'm not sure exactly what the wording is.
Well,
But
I think you're right. I think that
We don't want to
that would-
set the town up for failure,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
want to
we wanna
make
make
sure
sure,
that
yeah.
we're,
And each system's gonna be different. I
Flexible
mean,
in
here
the
at town
language.
hall, maybe we can't do everything, but, we can do it at the library and, et cetera. And we'll learn every time we do one of these, we're gonna learn better about what the best way to do it
And
is.
if we end up deciding to have a community center, certainly with a new building, it's easier to plan and. do a
Yes,
lot of this
exactly.
stuff.
And yes, and exactly. In a new building, we can, so anyway, that's what yeah.
All right. I
So I
think
think
we're on
it's-
the same page.
Yeah, it's just making sure that we get the wording right and,
Yeah, the purpose is to keep the ball moving forward,
right.
which means lots of people have to kind of agree to disagree, to agree to disagree as we go on.
We definitely
Okay.
need to try and get as much of the plan reviewed in basically December and January at this point. Because February is really just out of our hands because we need to bring it to the public. So as
Right.
much as you can churn out with a team, Meg.
Yeah. Well,
keep these posted.
yeah, I can, the greenhouse gas emissions inventory, the social vulnerability index, assessment, and the, infrastructure assessment are all sort of, they are going to be appendices to the report. And so the report will pull out from these things and, highlight so that it's accessible, to somebody. And then if they want more information, if they want to get into the weeds, I can get into those particular assessments. And then the focus will be on what the priorities are.
So
With
maybe
some
we
nice boilerplate in the front, talking about climate, won't say that word, but
Actually-
why it's a good thing to have this, stuff like that.
Actually, if you have parts that you want sort of filled in or whatever, you can let us know. Maybe some of the committee could help too, write some of that.
All right.
So it sounds like the appendices, maybe we can knock those out and like finalize those in December. And if there's just a chapter or the intro or anything you've got on the plan
Mhm.
that we could take a look at in December, and then maybe if we need to
Yeah.
disseminate some workload or before then, you could reach out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Really just have January to have a big meeting for the rest of it. Or we could have more than one meeting, but it just, depends on how much you can provide when you can.
Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, that that we need to focus on the report, and getting that out and getting feedback from the committee with enough time so that, by the time we're having our public meeting, you guys are comfortable with it and, So it seems the beginning of February is the deadline for this, as I'm reading.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So,
Okay.
are we choosing can we choose a date and time for that meeting so we can start letting people know about it? Are we, rather,
I think we need to,
otherwise-
I think Julia needs to talk with, I'm sorry, Meg needs to talk with Julia about the timing for her stuff, so I
okay.
don't think, I don't think we can make a
We
firm
need
date.
to, we need to set that date before our next meeting. So I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't,
Yep. Anything else?
I think we beat that one out pretty good.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thanks, Meg. Look forward to the next meeting.
Yeah,
Maybe
me
next
too.
Wednesday.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, we were requested to support a Streets for People proposal for our CRP grant with the Bike Ped Committee.
You read something?
No, Victor's wife did. I did take,
Oh,
I
I
did
see.
take a
Talking
little pen to it, but nothing too major, just to kind of put it more in our voice, but I wanted to see if we're going to approve this, we can send it off, because the grant's due the
Do
17th.
you have a electronic version we could share?
Yeah, if you wanna
or-
click into the hyperlink on the agenda and you can share it.
Oh,
or could somebody summarize what it is the Bike Ped Committee is asking for? They're going to the same kind of grant we've just been getting, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
that's great.
they're
Yeah, you talk
applying-
about it, Victor.
They're applying for a grant to do a complete streets plan, so to speak. And it, you know, it, I don't know, they're still working out the details, let's put it this way, but the idea is to have several components, ways to make the streets cleaner, items that are triggers that, would cause us to actually redesign streets, et cetera. And I forget what else. There's some equipment that might be needed. They want to do demonstration projects. And also, I guess the police department is looking for a better way of handling or tracking speeding, or average speeds, or whatever you want to call it. But just right
Right.
now, we have those signs that say what the speed is, and everyone slows down when they see the sign. Something a little more clandestine might be better to get an actual idea of what the traffic speeds are. So, and that'll determine what streets are, what kinds of things need to be done on the street to calm the traffic. So, anyway, so it's a number of different things.
So is it by any more sidewalk building or bicycle trail building or anything of that
It'll
sort?
be a whole bunch of things. There's if you looked at, I don't know how much you know about street design and for pedestrians and stuff, but there's a whole manual called NOCTO. Anyway, it's city transportation engineers have come up with a whole bunch of ways in which you can accommodate streets for better pedestrian and bicycle and activities. And
But if you can't widen them because they're already limited in corridor, then
most of the time you don't want to widen streets. If you want to calm a street, you want to narrow it.
Okay.
So you want to narrow the travel lanes. You want to do bump outs. So you kind of it's the opposite. You're not trying to get more traffic through. What you're trying to do is get less traffic through.
Right. But we can't go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes on our major killing street
Well,
there.
we're not gonna. No, this isn't
bypass.
gonna cover major highways. This isn't going to cover 196, except maybe parts of it. But it's going to cover the local streets. It's going to be mostly the local streets that we're dealing
Okay,
with.
local streets.
Elm
Okay.
Street, it's not we're not going to change the state roads.
If I
All
could
right.
jump in, the charge of that committee is to develop
Okay.
what
Thank
they
you.
call it, a traffic calming toolbox. So it's a way to deal with complaints about people who are speeding here or not stopping for pedestrians here, and develop so we can have equal things to apply town-wide. In addition, the other charge of the committee was to develop a complete streets policy for Topsham. Some of the things that might include is for new developments that they need to include sidewalks or provisions to make them more bike and pedestrian friendly. It also would have, again, worried about shalls, but it may say, like, if we're repaving a street, we need to consider whether we should make certain improvements. An example of one we're already doing now is we're working on Tedford Road. And this, probably should have brought this up in the earlier update part when you asked for a staff update. But there's a culvert at the end of Tedford Road that's become a dam, essentially. So when we get a heavy rain event, it backs up water into some people's wells, as well as it's now at risk of failing. It's eroding around the side of the culvert. So we've had Wright Pierce designing that. We told them as part of that, we want to widen the road so that we could have a sidewalk on top of the culvert.
Yes.
Because we're trying to come up with putting sidewalks down all of Tedford Road within the right of way.
Good.
In this particular location, as part of the construction work, it means we need to get an easement on the gentleman's property that the water normally backs up onto. We've talked to him and he's willing to do that with us. So now that we're basically taking a rebuilding project of a culvert and we've turned it into widening the road there so that we can accommodate pedestrians better and things.
Great.
So this plan would probably say to do that everywhere in town. When we have a major road project, we consider trying to make it more accessible for bikes and pedestrians as well. Another one that's on our radar is at some point in the next 5 years or so, we have to do the culvert that's on Forside Road, about a quarter of a mile east of the fields, next to where that church is. Used to be the Merrymeeting Sportsman had that pond. When we do that one, we're also gonna consider or adding, say, bike access, a wider, safer bike lane in that area, so that if we try to do something in Forside Road in the future, it's already done in the expensive part. So that's the kind of stuff that the plan would encourage. So what they're looking for is grant money to help an expert to help write both the traffic calming metrics as well as a complete streets plan.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Same here.
Has everybody had a chance to look at
That's
this
I
letter?
think we should have to support that.
Can I read that?
Yeah, oh, paper. Okay.
Yeah.
It basically just talks about how, increasing non-greenhouse gas emitting modes of transportation in town are in alignment with trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in town for our former and future climate action plan. And that we just say that we're in alignment with that, with our own charges. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to me.
She writes good. So are we gonna vote on that? Then?
Sure, motion to accept it as written.
Yeah.
Yeah. Victoria second. Oh,
I was first.
You first.
I'm checking the minutes, you decide.
You second, whatever.
Who's second?
Somebody.
Nick?
Nick,
Yes.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll get that over to Brian. And then last but not least, Nancy, would you give us update on your Mount Ararat?
Yeah.
birthday?
We're making some progress. I've been meeting with a senior who has an independent project of understanding the heating systems, cooling systems of Mount Ararat with its geothermal and heat pump are the major sources of the heat for that building. It's a building of the future. And our goal is to learn about the energy systems ourselves. We're having a tour from Mike Chonko, who's helped design the building, as I understand, and I've heard his talk before. It's very good. We're also working with the community coordinator, Douglas Ware, who all students who want to work with community groups or on outside independent projects. He's the one that coordinates them, and he's been a science teacher and has been on several energy tours already. So we're going to learn how the systems work, and the goal is to find a class of AP advanced environmental students to try to get them interested in, this is Mr. Gibson, Yvette, the group we spoke to before, that class,
Yeah.
to get them, hopefully get them interested in the energy systems of the building. These are mostly juniors and seniors, and train them if this works, and he approves this process for those students. They could be energy tour guides for, say, the freshman class. The goal being here is that all the students to start realizing this unusual building that they're in and don't even realize that it's unusual because it's always comfortable and it's, it provides for them, but they don't know the difference between a fossil fuel building and one that's not. There are 2 little tiny gas boilers down in the basement that only go on in the coldest time of the winter. That's not a fossil fuel heated building. And the solar panels on the roof, as you already know, provide half the electricity. So the other problem is getting the energy dashboard, which is the screen in the entranceway of Mount Ararat, functional again. I know that our tech supervisor, Nicholas Reggie, has been working on that, and it's a little unclear. I'm not able to talk to him directly to find out what needs to get done to get that dashboard up again, but it has revealed information in the past, like how much electricity is being generated from the solar panels in real time compared to this day a year ago. How much is are the heat pumps working? How much geothermal is providing heat to the systems? And compare, say, get the kids thinking about weather and relating weather, whether it's sunny or not, whether it's how cold the temperatures are outside, to what the building is doing. And in theory, the kids on their cell phones can access this information, not just looking up at the dashboard when they run through that part of the building. So this is what happens at Camden High School. The students see on their cell phones, they actually have a wind machine as well as solar collectors. They see what's being generated in real time. So this is the goal, is to get this screen up and running and functional for students, and then to teach students about it. Maybe we haven't figured out yet how we'll be doing it in some sort of a open house day on campus where other things are being offered, and they can try out different types of solar collectors or solar heaters, or the idea being to think about the sun and the warmth and teach them about the 45 to 50 degree underground temperature that is heating through a glycol loop the whole building there most of the time. So it seems to be moving along. We're gonna and that's our goal and hope, is to get students educated, have a bunch of energy tours for students. It's preferably when they first start at the high school, so they can start using that and using the systems, learning about the systems that are there, using the dashboard through their cell phones to pique their curiosity about what's going on in the building. We've been thinking about involving students with dramatic skills, doing pictures, trying to figure out how to make the screen appealing to students and relevant to what they might be interested in. How far can you go on a gallon of gas with what is happening in this building? So
that's awesome, because one of the huge takeaways, Nancy, from the survey the students did was they need more education. And they literally came up with like almost no suggestions as to what to do besides to stop using single-use utensils.
Yeah,
So this is like so spot on.
yeah.
yeah, good. Thank you for reminding me of that they're not thinking about saving energy yet. And they're not thinking about renewable energy much, but they're in the middle of a place that's just screaming green energy.
Well, the strange part of that building, and it's probably a testament to the incredible nature of it, is that you walk in there, you couldn't have the foggiest idea that it's heated geothermal and solar. Because it's just, feels nice, everything's fine, nothing's happening, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yet, you know, it's really a dramatic result. You know, it's a dramatic result of engineering to get that building working.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's exciting to hear Mike's description of it, which I heard way back 3 years ago, a year after the school had been operating, and so they had time to find out how well it was working and how little, there are two little tiny gas boilers down the basement just go on very rarely in the coldest weather, and you notice we're not having much prolonged cold anymore. So it's it's going to be the fossil fuel use, if the little that's there, is going to be even less and less, because the underground nature of the air that's being the liquids that are being circulated from apparently it's a whole bunch of little wells all close together off the west side of the building. Not what I thought, not one big geothermal loop, but a whole bunch of little wells that feed into it. And so I'll update you after I've had our tour. Let's see. But it's
You can give us the tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'd love to. I mean, we're meeting. Anybody who wants to can come. Let's see, what time are we doing that?
When you get a good one, you should get someone to videotape it so you can,
Well,
have that.
I was going to try to record it. I hadn't thought of videotaping it.
Well, like maybe there's a student group or like
Yeah.
theater people or.
Somebody, who could do
When are you doing that?
Yeah, we really do need to capture it so that we don't have to ask Mike to keep doing this this tour, which as much as he's willing to do that, but he's also got a full-time job designing as a mechanical engineer of these sort of systems. All right, well, I'm excited.
Do you have a date on that, Nancy?
Let's see here. Okay, we decided to do it on Friday. I haven't gotten on my calendar yet. It's gonna be 8 o'clock in the morning, it's not the 29th, so it's gotta be the 6th of December at 8 o'clock. And you'll meet Mike at the front door. There's front doors. You just have to come in and, I guess I need to tell the secretary that several people are coming. If you want to come, you'd come, Nick, to that?
Maybe. I'm taking care of grandchildren at that time, but I might be able to shirk my responsibilities for that.
I can put it up to the.
You're lucky to have grandchildren.
Oh, no, believe me.
I don't.
No, I'd like to come.
Yeah. I can
All
tell.
right.
I may join as well.
Yeah, I might join.
Yeah, that's
I'll put out an email reminder.
All right, let me send it to you first, be sure I've got the right time. Before we have people all signing up there, and then I'll have to talk to the office to, okay, that several other people are coming in. Okay, so that would be,
That's great.
is interested, Yvette and Jackie want to come.
Everybody.
everybody said, yeah, eventually.
Really?
Yeah.
Side Markov too, he's
Yeah.
going.
And you're bringing
Actually,
donuts too,
I'll be at
right?
Mount Vernon. that
Oh, yeah?
day.
Well, Mount Ararat, Mount Vernon.
Yeah, different mountain.
It is really exciting to learn about it. It's such a
Yeah,
great-
I didn't even know.
Since we're talking about Mount Ararat, I followed up with one of the committee members who, for the school board, that's also on the transportation subcommittee that has finally started,
Do tell.
getting things going. And it sounds like they have the school bus grant that a bunch of us have gone to testify about through the 2026 budget. So I think that they
Okay.
are like trying to bring this forward up through the budget process again. If they need any supporters, I'll let y'all know. I'm trying to just let them roll without any pitchfork twisted folks. so I'll just keep y'all apprised, but it sounds like it's back in action. There's a new, well, I don't know if they've hired somebody yet, but the transportation director we were dealing with then has moved on, so maybe there's a new livelihood to all of this potentially.
I
Okay.
mean, we're on the third one since we started. Is transportation director? Somebody's changed recently again? For the
I don't know. who
Last
it
week,
is
they
yet.
said that I think Katie DeCara
Yes,
was
that was the
leaving,
one.
so.
Well, yeah, but she left a long time ago.
No, she's just leaving now.
Oh,
She was
okay.
the one that we were talking to when we got the grant, when they got the grant.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so anyhow, I'll keep you posted.
So who's on the transportation committee for the school board? Do you know? You remember?
Don't know all the folks, but if we could find it out online.
Probably. Okay.
Anything else?
It's not on the agenda.
Oh,
Or could
well.
be public comment?
December meeting date?
No, I
Oh,
was
December
reading-
meeting date's the 19th.
Oh, that's right, we did that already,
Yeah.
sorry. We went out of order, okay.
I was reading the Maine Climate Action Plan, Maine Won't Wait, this morning. And I think it'd be good to go in there, if anybody hasn't had a chance to read that, they do have some of their language pretty well refined. And, I thought a lot of the imagery in there was pretty darn good too.
Okay.
They show a field with 2 tractors cultivating, I don't know, it looked like a potato field or something like that, with wind generators in the background, their choice of images was excellent.
Not solar farm. in the background.
No solar farm.
Actually, in Aroostook County, it's wind. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just constant.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought some of the language, the statements, along the way, what Mark is talking about, the shalls versus the, okay, let's study this thing and get a comprehensive plan, and then we'll decide whether we shall or not.
Yeah.
I thought there was some pretty good language in there, so.
I'll share a link to it.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
about 1 million links to it.
Yeah, you probably do,
Everybody
yeah.
in the world is sending a
I
link.
know, yeah.
For some reason, our recode consultants had put in there, no nuclear power in Topsham. So we're like, take that out, not that it means Maine Yankee scale plant's ever gonna work, but it seems like there's a lot of cutting edge research being done on small
Right.
scale nuclear that
Right,
could very well help the planet and everything else.
Right.
So anyway, we're having them take that out. So.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, economics of nuclear though is just still, even small scale, is just really crazy.
There's
Bill
no
Gates is
good
in this
disposal
thing.
system for the waste. That's the problem. There's no good disposal system, and it has to be kept forever and ever. And
Yeah.
people, human beings, aren't responsible enough to do that.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
No?
Or did that
Well,
earlier?
motion to adjourn?
God forbid.
Yeah, yeah.
Motion to adjourn, anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Nancy, all in favor?
Okay.
Hey,
Thanks
see
all.
you the 19th.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come right on.
Well,